Hey, what is up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today with the full show Wrestlemania 34 preview. We're going to be updating it this week. As of right now, there's 7 matches already announced for the pay-per-view. A few of these have been released in the last couple of days. I'm sure with SmackDown being taped here on Tuesday, we're going to get some sort of announcement of the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Shane McMahon match, whether if it's going to be like Shane being the special guest referee, or Shane, doing a handicap match, or if it's going to be a 3-way, maybe with Daniel Bryan being the special guest referee. There's going to be a few things named. But as of right now, I think that WrestleMania 34 has a really good build to a really good show, and honestly has the makings of a really special WrestleMania. As of right now, we're still waiting for a few outside things. Possibly the main event hasn't been named yet. John Cena versus Undertaker. We had the, I guess you can say that the challenge laid down on Monday Night Raw of John Cena challenging Undertaker, calling him out, telling him that this is a match that needs to take place. He needs to put his ego aside. I look at this card, I see like a special AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura match that a lot of people are going to be talking about. A lot of people are fired up over the Triple H and Stephanie going up against Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle. But in my mind, as soon as this match is named, Cena versus Undertaker needs to be the main event. In my opinion, I think that there's a lot of respect there. John Cena being the biggest name that is in the business, even though he's not wrestling a full-time schedule, he's gone away to make a few movies as well as film some commercials and take some time off, this, that, and the other. But Undertaker, even though we thought he walked away after last year's WrestleMania, deserves the respect as being the longest reigning guy to be in the WWF since 1990. All the respect of everything that he's done for the company, being one of the biggest superstars of all time, and just always being the leader of the locker room, even though he's not always around. I'm sure maybe you can say the rules that he's passed down is still in place, going strong down there today. But I know that when we look at this WrestleMania, I know that the matches that haven't been named, we need to see what's going on with the Bar against Braun Strowman, if it's going to be a 2-on-1 match. Honestly, in my opinion, we've seen in WCW one man hold the tag team championships twice in the years before they went down the drain. We saw the Giant as the tag team champion, as well as Rick Steiner after the breakup of the Steiner brothers, having sort of floating tag team partners, tagging with Chaos, I believe, for a little bit, as well as tagging with Judy Bagwell, Buff Bagwell's mom. How that even came together, I honestly have no clue. Definitely, we're going to be seeing Alexa Bliss going up against Nia Jax for the Women's Championship on Monday Night Raw. We're probably going to be getting an Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Although at WrestleMania 30 and WrestleMania 32, it was on the main card. But at WrestleMania 31, and I believe on 34 was on the pre-show. I'm pretty sure, even though Jinder Mahal and Mojo Rawley were in there. So this is a match that, honestly, in my opinion, looking at how stacked the card is going to be, is probably going to be destined to the pre-show. Most people are recognizing that even though they try to treat the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal and the big trophy, that it might be special for that night or maybe even that weekend, where they have the winner on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown from their brand. Within a month, nobody cares about that thing anymore, and there is no real push that comes out of that. I mean, when Cesaro won it at WrestleMania 30, I think everybody thought that was going to be his momentum going right into the main event, especially being paired up with Paul Heyman the next night on Monday Night Raw. And the guy fought for the United States Championship and became a tag team guy, and we haven't really seen much more from him since then. He's probably, you know, if you look it up, challenged for the championship on a Monday Night Raw here or there, but definitely been nowhere near a main event. And that guy's a really, really special talent and should have been pushed a really long time ago. As far as everything else, we have to wait and see. I think that we're going to find out tonight the winner of the 205 Live tournament, where we're going to find who's going to be wrestling for the championship after it was stripped from Enzo Amore. I think that I picked Cedric Alexander to come off of the left side of the brackets, and I picked Drew Gulak to come off of the right-hand one. So we'll see if that comes to play. I'm sure that is there a tag? We don't know what's going on with the Usos and the New Day. That should be news that comes out this week. But especially with the Bludgeon Brothers, I mean, maybe they're just going to end up doing that classic WrestleMania 4 corners tag team match, maybe an elimination match for SmackDown to try and get all those tag teams on the show, like Tyler Breeze and Fandango, and be able to do it. Back in the old days, they would just have the tag team gauntlet match, and everybody comes running down, being eliminated left and right, and trying to find a way to get everybody on there that way. But this looks like it's going to be a good WrestleMania. We'll talk about it piece by piece from here on out, and we'll see what's going down with the Big Show in a minute. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today as we are driving home on my day off from doing some little chores around the house. Yesterday, I put up a whole bunch of videos on Wrestlemania 34. I basically did the full show preview. I have not taken all those videos and glued them together. I will probably do that today and probably add this one in there. As of SmackDown on Tuesday, the only match that was added to WrestleMania 34 was Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. This basically was set up by the storyline of them coming together, with Sami Zayn saving Kevin Owens at Hell in the Cell during the match from Shane McMahon. Basically, from there, it is set up a storyline of Sami and Kevin Owens being best friends, and basically causing destruction on the show that is SmackDown, because Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens felt they have been treated unfairly by the commissioner, Shane McMahon. Shane has basically got involved in almost every single Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens moment that has been on SmackDown and pay-per-view. Daniel Bryan has played into this storyline, with him basically saying that Shane is treating them unfairly, is basically not letting their matches pan out, constantly being involved. We thought that we were going to see a little bit of this payoff at Survivor Series. Nothing really came out of that, but we've always sort of seen Daniel Bryan giving the side of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, this shine of light, basically not making them look like the bad guys all the time, almost making Shane look like he is treating them unfairly, and that's basically the way it's panned out to be. As of right now, I believe there's 14 matches that are unofficially and officially announced for WrestleMania. That's a lot of matches. That's a lot of pay-per-view time. That's a lot of pre-show time going on right now. So if you're going to WrestleMania, or you're going to be sitting down, you got a long day. They better have some good little, they might call them matches. They might have some good little breaks there. By the time that show is over, man, you're going to be toast. It's going to feel like it takes forever. I believe that as of right now, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens is a match, but I don't think that is everything that is going to be announced for that match. I would not be surprised if we do see Shane McMahon added to this match, making it a three-way. I don't think they're going to make it a handicap match. That doesn't really seem like it would make that much sense. And as of right now, I don't really see anybody on SmackDown that has not been announced for WrestleMania that is, deserving to be in a match. So I don't see anybody teaming with Shane. I think that they are going to make it a three-way. I think what they're trying to do is play off Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens as two singles guys, and not really pairing them as a team. This is what was weird about SmackDown is during Fastlane, we basically saw them implode as friends and partners in the match, where basically their plan exploded, where Sami said that he was going to lay down for Kevin Owens, letting him win the match. Why they didn't just use a submission hold and have Sami tap out and the match basically would have been over in a jiffy. I'm not really sure why they didn't go with that plan, but Sami laid down, and as Kevin Owens took forever to trust him and cover him, Sami rolled him up and tried to get a cover of his own. And then they got up and they did the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn fight forever thing, where they punched each other repeatedly in the head over and over and over and just fought to the death. Even at one point, I believe Kevin Owens tried to cover Sami Zayn for the win, or it might have been the other way around, before Shane McMahon broke up the count, making sure that neither one of those guys was going to win the match. So I don't understand the part of them fighting and beating up Shane McMahon on SmackDown, other than if they were just mad at Shane for coming up with a plan that would make them fight and break up their friendship and falling into the trap that Shane set for them. I mean, that's the only thing that I could really see going down. You know, if Shane wants to wrestle at WrestleMania, I mean, if you think about it, when Shane came back, they put him in the Hell in the Cell against Undertaker. When they had him come back and they had him fight against AJ Styles at WrestleMania last year, we were wondering what the big spot was going to be. You know, was Shane going to jump off of the ring that was made above the ring? You know, was he going to jump off of that overhang they put in case it rains? Is that what they were planning to do? I don't really know what the big spot's going to be for this match. I don't know what they're building up to do at WrestleMania, other than just to have one hell of a match. I mean, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, I think everybody's seen all of the interviews and all of the documentaries that they've done about how these guys were basically coming up in Canada as independent wrestlers and became friends. They know each other like the back of their hand. They're former Ring of Honor tag team champions as Kevin Steen and El Generico before breaking up and then starting the run of Kevin Steen in Ring of Honor that led to him being one of the biggest stars in independent wrestling, that led to him getting signed by WWE and coming into NXT. You know, to me, that's really what put them on the map to get them there. So at this time, I mean, Shane's the guy that goes into matches and has big spots that everybody remembers, but I don't really think of Shane McMahon winning many of those fights. So I don't think that he's going to be the winner. Definitely, when you think about the SmackDown Championship at WrestleMania, it's going to be Nakamura against AJ Styles. There's lots of talk of AJ Styles and Seth Rollins basically being switched after WrestleMania. So, I mean, I think that Nakamura is going to win the title at WrestleMania. I really think that this three-way, with it coming down to either being Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens, I can really see this being a #1 contenders match. As the winner of this is going to be going up for the championship at the next SmackDown pay-per-view. If not, I mean, what's the worst case scenario? Is maybe you plug Rollins into going up against Nakamura right off the bat to use that sort of star leverage of seeing somebody go up against a new brand after being switched over. And what's the worst case scenario? Is you actually get a singles match between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens on the next SmackDown pay-per-view. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing from this one. It is a very interesting match. Daniel Bryan coming into it as the referee, you could really see him being sort of an unfair advantage. I don't really know how the storyline pays off of Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon not being on the same page. I don't know if it's just going to come down to Daniel Bryan actually doing a heel tactic when his contract is about to expire, and maybe Daniel Bryan is fired by Shane, and maybe that's just going to be it. He rides off into the sunset, and then he wrestles at the All-In pay-per-view in Chicago. I mean, I'm not really sure how this all pans out, but I'm looking forward to seeing what the story is, and looking to see whose hand's going to be raised at WrestleMania. So we'll probably cut this one in to the full show preview, which will probably be uploaded later today. And hopefully you guys are watching it on there now. If not, flip on over and check out the full show preview for WrestleMania 34. It's going to be a good show. See you guys down the road. Last night on Monday Night Raw, also being her birthday, being celebrated, the first ever Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal was announced for WrestleMania 34. Fabulous Moolah, much like Andre the Giant, one of the biggest legends there is in the women's division ever in WWE. Fabulous Moolah was somebody that worked with Vince McMahon Sr. back in the day, breaking in a lot of wrestlers, into the women's division, as well as, booking them out and sending them around the country, being sort of the leader of the women's revolution of back in the day. I know that everyone has dug up a lot of dirt on Fabulous Moolah, and because of this being the WrestleMania 34 preview, and not really being like sort of a news video, we're not going to go into that. I completely understand Mae Young got her own Mae Young Classic with a women's tournament that went down on the WWE Network. I understand why they would go with the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal. I think it makes a lot of sense for WWE, and it's a way to get a lot of the women that are featured in WWE, whether that's them being on NXT, SmackDown, or Monday Night Raw, onto the main card. I think it does take away a little bit from the first ever Women's Royal Rumble that took place this year, just back in January. But I understand that a lot of people are going to point fingers at why is it that I don't really like the idea of a Women's Battle Royal on WrestleMania when the men have a Royal Rumble every January, and then turn around and have this Battle Royal on the WrestleMania card. I understand they're trying to make everything equal in WWE, with it being Women's Rights Months or whatever the heck is going on. Trying to find, I guess you could say, diversity is the best way to say it. So, I mean, if they keep this up every year and try and make it mean something, I just went into this in the WrestleMania preview video. I understand the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is probably going to be coming around, and this is a match that, when the first one took place and we had Mojo Rawley win it, and I'm sorry, Mojo Rawley won the last one. At WrestleMania 30, when Cesaro won it, we thought it was going to mean something, and basically we found out within a month that it didn't. I believe that, you gotta have Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal. I'm hoping that somebody wins it who means something, that is going to be taking some sort of a push in the future that can make it, when it comes around the next year, us remember that this is the start of something, and it really means something, much like when somebody wins the Money in the Bank each and every year. Carmella still running around with that briefcase, and I don't think anybody is ever really thinking about on SmackDown, is this the SmackDown that she's going to cash in? There's no real hints at anything going down like that. Definitely, I think that we're going to be seeing returning legends, with a lot of legends being in town for Access appearances as well as WrestleCon appearances. I don't think that we're going to get Trish Stratus or Lita again, but there's a lot of people out there that were not featured in the Royal Rumble that could fill out the Fabulous Memorial Battle Royal. Off the top of my head, if I had to pick a winner today, I think it would be cool to see somebody like Becky Lynch win it. Definitely Becky is somebody who looks like not going to be getting a singles match. Is possibly the biggest star in WWE that is not getting a singles match. If they are going to be sort of using returning legends and bringing somebody back that is not really on the main roster, I think it would be cool to see Brie Bella win the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal. Definitely, from watching Total Divas as well as Total Bellas, we knew that when they got the first ever Money in the Bank match for the women's division, that they were really jealous, that they came at a time that they were both not on the main roster due to injury and pregnancy, that they really wanted to be a part of it. And that's why I really knew that when the Royal Rumble came around that they were going to try by any means to be ready to be in that match. And when that match came around, I believe Brie Bella finished third in the Royal Rumble, and I think Nikki Bella finished second. And then the reason why Brie was eliminated was that Nikki turned on her for yet once again. And I think it would be a pretty cool sort of storyline for Total Bellas, that we would see, you know, not really the breakup of the Bellas, but definitely see the payoff of them having to explain why Nikki threw out Brie from the Royal Rumble, and then turning around and Brie throwing out Nikki to win the first ever Fabulous Moolah Battle Royal. I understand that Brie Bella is not the best wrestler on the women's division. She's not the biggest star. She's definitely not bigger than her sister, but I think for the reality show, I think that would be a pretty cool storyline that I can think of. Off the top of my head, definitely, you know, a girl from Absolution getting the win, or maybe from the Riot Squad, definitely pushing that up. Or you can even use it to sort of propel somebody like Ember Moon. Let's say that I'm not sure who the number one competitor for the women's title is going to be in NXT, but let's say that she loses the title at the NXT TakeOver in New Orleans, then turns around and wins the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal. And then you sort of have Kurt Angle and Daniel Bryan scrambling to see who's going to bring Ember Moon to their brand and debut them on the Raw or SmackDown that's in New Orleans. So there's a lot of things to think about with this first ever Moolah Memorial Battle Royal, and we'll see what goes down at WrestleMania 34. The big one, as of right now, the main event of WrestleMania 34 is Brock Lesnar defending the Universal Championship, going up against none other than Roman Reigns. This, of course, is a rematch of WrestleMania 31. It seems like WWE is not going to be playing off on the rematch factor all that much. Maybe they don't want to act like they're repeating something that already happened in history. As of right now, there is no money in the bank to sort of bring anybody into the match, so much like Seth Rollins did to interfere in the WrestleMania 31 main event, where Rollins would end up pinning Roman Reigns to become the Universal Champion, and then going off on a run where Rollins held the belt all the way until WrestleMania 32, and the only thing that stopped him was a knee injury that took him out of action. Last time, they were doing some sort of a weird angle. I'm not sure if WWE was trying to play off on the factor of maybe turning Roman Reigns heel. At the time, there was a lot of rumors of Brock Lesnar leaving WWE, where he was actually going to be signing with UFC and going back in, getting into the Octagon. But you know, they did the whole sit-down interview because Monday Night Raw had to be canceled due to a snowstorm, where they had Paul Heyman talking to Roman Reigns, talking about the fact that he'd worked with members of his family in the wrestling industry back in the day, and that he actually did respect Roman Reigns. And you know, that was the whole thing that people were hanging on to, that maybe, you know, they would do the thing sort of like Survivor Series 2002, where it was actually going to be Paul that would turn on Brock and actually join up with Roman, much like what happened to Brock with Big Show at the time, when Big Show was the first guy to beat Brock Lesnar in WWE. They ended up not going with that, but it was in the back of a lot of people's minds until Brock ended up re-signing the week of WrestleMania, you know, when they did the announcement on ESPN. And to a lot of people, that sort of saved WrestleMania, because if you can remember, that year after Roman won the Royal Rumble is basically when, you know, fans were doing the whole hashtag, you know, quit the network, and people were, you know, writing emails and you know, tweeting things about how they were going to cancel the network and they were never going to watch WWE again. And here we are 4 years later. They're doing the same match. And, you know, WWE numbers on the WWE network are up. I think that, honestly, when you look at ratings, when it comes to numbers, they might be down. But it's not like WWE is really hurting for money or hurting for fans. you know, I wish I could say that, you know, WWE, I wish they would learn from their mistake, but, you know, WrestleMania 31, even though it's not one of the best WrestleManias of all time, it definitely was a really fun WrestleMania, and it's not like people really, you know, thought that Roman versus Brock was the worst match of all time. Definitely Brock, you know, kicked Roman's ass in that match. Roman was barely able to get any offense in before Seth Rollins came into the match. You know, he was just being thrown from corner to corner. You know, he's basically getting taken to Suplex City to the point where Roman was laughing at himself for not being able to actually be able to hurt Brock at all. I'm not sure if that's exactly the same storyline that they're going to go for. Since then, at WrestleMania 32, Roman Reigns was able to defeat Triple H to become the WWE Champion in the main event. And then at WrestleMania 33, Roman Reigns was able to beat Undertaker in what was supposed to be looked at as a retirement match, where, you know, Roman was able to dominate and overtake the Undertaker, and showed that Undertaker just didn't have it anymore. To me, I really think that Undertaker and Brock is sort of, to me, it's almost like that dagger in the heart, like WWE saying, like, gosh, why don't you get it? Roman is the man. He needs to be the Hulk Hogan or the John Cena of this era. We need you fans to get on board. To me, I think what WWE needs to do is just get over that hump. If you want to push Roman every pay-per-view where he's going to go in there and he's going to overcome the odds and he's going to beat people, just do it. Because to me, honestly, even though you might have people boo him on pay-per-view and you might have people boo him on TV, I think you're still going to have the same people show up to house shows. You're going to have the same people show up and buy Monday Night Raw tickets. You're going to have the same people buy WrestleMania tickets each and every year because it's WWE, and people know that even though they don't like Roman Reigns and he is the WWE champion, there are people, whether if it's the tag team guys or, you know, the 205 Live guys or even the women on the roster, that they can support, and they're going to want to show up and see them each and every time. I think we've all learned by now that even though it is the Universal Championship and it might be in the main event, you know, you can make your own main event and basically say, like, this is the match that I want to see, and this is the match that I care about, and everything else than that, if that's a good match, that's gravy on top of it, and I already know that I'm getting my money's worth. To me, when I see Roman Reigns, I don't really get ecstatic. I don't, you know, take my shirt off and start like, yeah, it's the man right there. But I think when I definitely watch his pay-per-view matches, I can't think of many that don't deliver. I mean, if a Roman Reigns best of DVD came out, and I went and I picked it up, and I think I put that, you know, in the DVD player, and I started watching it, I don't think I'd be able to pick out many matches that I just didn't like. I think that it just seems like there's a lot of moments in his career that I just don't really appreciate because it seems like he's getting them each and every week. But, you know, we've grown up with this with Hulk Hogan. We've gone through this with John Cena. We understand that there is supposed to be one guy on the top of the mountain, even though it might not be the guy that we think should be there. We're still going to support everybody else. So this is going to be a good Mania. Hope everybody that's going is going to be having one hell of a trip. And hope you guys know that I'll be watching your videos. If you guys be posting them up there and, you know, trying to follow you guys on Twitter and Instagram, seeing who you guys are meeting at Access and WrestleCon and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's going to be more videos to come. I just wanted to knock out the first full show preview. And I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll see you guys down the road. I was really rooting for this match, and with Charlotte being the face of SmackDown's women's division, as well as Asuka being one of the rising stars of Monday Night Raw, I didn't really think that they were going to pull off the switch. It looked like Asuka was going into a program with Raw's women's champion Alexa Bliss, where basically Asuka was going to pick to go after the Raw championship. And in my mind, I was saying Charlotte versus Asuka is a match that I think that a lot of wrestling fans are going to want to see. Charlotte Flair is possibly the best women's wrestler in WWE, in my opinion. I understand that Asuka, she does have a big group of fans, and she does really wrestle a real physical style with her punches and her kicks. I don't think that really appeals to everyone. For people to think that maybe I am going towards Charlotte and thinking that she's one of the best women's wrestlers in WWE, go back and watch when she first debuted and she was coming up. I really was not on the Charlotte train. And I believe at that time I was really saying that Becky Lynch was going to be the face of the women's division, even though Charlotte was getting the push out of the gate. I felt that there would be a time when Becky and Charlotte would split, and Becky would be the one that would start beating Charlotte, sort of like the come from behind, that Charlotte was getting the push out of the gate because of the Flair connection. And I've always really thought that Becky was going to be the best, and that's why I think she's got a really good shot to win that Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal this year. But this year at WrestleMania, this is going to be a really big match. I know that they're going to be pushing, the heritage of Flair and her, being a big part of WrestleMania, with her coming out at WrestleMania 32, winning that three-way with Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. This is Asuka's first WrestleMania. Asuka, of course, shot through NXT. She came up to the main roster being undefeated and hasn't lost a match since being called up to the main roster. I understand that she's surpassed Goldberg's streak of matches, and she's going to be put to the test. I know that when a lot of people come up from NXT, all of a sudden they hit the ground running on the main roster and they're undefeated, and then they start pulling off the undefeated streak, sort of gimmick on TV, and then they get to the point of like, well, how are we going to beat this guy? And then once we beat him, then what do we do with him after that? And that's sort of like when people get lost in the shuffle. If you think about guys like Bo Dallas or Adam Rose, that just was the path that they took with people from NXT, because that was the only way that they could think to bring him up. Asuka, I believe, is something special. Definitely, she has connected with NXT fans as well as WWE fans, and sort of shown off a style of wrestling that we've never seen in WWE before. I think you have to be a sucker to not pick Asuka to win this match. I think that they've been waiting for her to get a championship match in WWE until WrestleMania, for her to get a WrestleMania moment. But at the same time, it's hard to pick against Charlotte. I understand we're a while removed from her undefeated streak on pay-per-view. I believe that ended Fastlane last year before WrestleMania. So that's not really the reason why I'm picking her, but this is sort of a hard match to pick. I want to see how the storyline builds for this. I'm sort of glad that Asuka is going to be moving to SmackDown for this storyline, but at the same time, it looks like she's going to be staying on Monday Night Raw, which is a little bit weird. But then, they did the shakeup after WrestleMania with the roster, so maybe that's just when they're going to flip her over, or maybe they're going to wait until she wins the championship at WrestleMania, and that just means that the SmackDown championship stays, or the SmackDown champion will stay with SmackDown, and that's how she ends up jumping over. So there's ways to pay this off, but they didn't want to end the storyline of Asuka versus Alexa Bliss. I think we are going to see that match in some way before WrestleMania, even if it is a non-title match, because it really wouldn't make sense for her to be chasing after Charlotte at the same time having a championship match, having a chance to win the belt on Raw. But then again, maybe it's champion versus champion, and they could go with that at WrestleMania. We'll see. It's a hard one to pick, but as of right now, I'm picking Asuka to win this one. Occasionally when I'm making these WrestleMania previews as well as other pay-per-view previews, I normally tell you what I think the best wrestling match of the night is going to be. It might not have the most, entertainment to it. It might not have the biggest stars to it, but you just know when these guys get in the ring, they are going to go. For, big fans, I guess they call it the hardcore fans of wrestling, we have seen this match once before on a big stage in Japan, on New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom. We had AJ Styles of the Bullet Club go up against Shinsuke Nakamura. This was honestly a big-time dream match for a lot of people to see these two guys get into the ring. And immediately, once it was said that these guys were jumping ship and going to WWE, we were hoping that we were going to see this on the grand stage of WrestleMania. People thought that it might happen at last year's WrestleMania, even though Nakamura was not a part of the main card yet. I'm really looking forward to this match. I think that these two guys are going to tear the house down. AJ Styles is coming in to WrestleMania as your WWE champion. Shinsuke Nakamura is coming in off of his Royal Rumble win. Definitely when you talk about Nakamura, you can say that he's had a big year since being on the main roster, but definitely since SummerSlam, he really took a step backwards in my opinion. That is when he went on his streak of losing matches to Jinder Mahal, who was the WWE champion at the time. I really thought that after Nakamura was able to beat John Cena on an episode of SmackDown, that was sort of his step forward to becoming the face of SmackDown and being sort of, I guess you can say the John Cena of the brand, now that John Cena wasn't going to be around as much. I definitely feel that Nakamura is a big part of WWE, but I know that there's lots of things out there about AJ maybe switching with Seth Rollins. To AJ goes to Monday Night Raw, and Seth Rollins, who has been on Monday Night Raw for a while and sort of had every feud that there possibly is possible over there, sort of finding a way to freshen things up. This definitely would be a way for Nakamura to move to the front of the class and be the guy on the show. Definitely when you do babyface versus babyface, especially for a championship on the grandest stage of being WrestleMania, it's kind of hard to predict which way they're going to go. Definitely, if you're thinking about the brand split idea of maybe AJ jumping to Monday Night Raw, it's sort of really easy to see the idea of him losing this match and Nakamura becoming the champion. With the fact that Nakamura has lost championship title matches not once, not twice, but I believe 3 times, and now is getting another shot finally at WrestleMania. I think that it's his time. I think that's what they were setting the pace for, especially with them not doing some sort of a gimmick match. I don't really want to play into the whole him being Japanese thing, but I don't know what they could have done for his sort of gimmick match. Like Jinder Mahal had the Punjabi prison match where they brought back Great Khali for the Randy Orton feud, but I'm sure they could have figured out something, and especially with Jinder Mahal not really going that long with the title after finally getting out of the Nakamura feud. I think that's what the plan has to have been. I really was thinking Nakamura was going to win the Rumble months ago, and just sort of rode that out until he finally was able to do it. I definitely think this is going to be the best match of the night, and as of right now, there really is no storyline for this match, so it's kind of hard to talk about this anymore, but I think at WrestleMania, I don't think it's going to be a knock against AJ Styles, but I think it's going to be Nakamura winning the championship, and it plays back into the WrestleMania 32 episode of WWE 24, where AJ Styles is talking about him having his first WrestleMania match against Chris Jericho, and him telling his son that even though he lost the match, he didn't lose that night, because he got to wrestle at WrestleMania, and he got to really show everybody how good he is, and I'm thinking that's what WrestleMania is going to be this year. Alright, the next match is really special to WrestleMania. It is definitely going to be one of the main drawing attractions that brings wrestling fans from past and present together to be watching the WWE Network. There's definitely going to be a lot of talk from, I guess you can say, the so-called UFC fans who used to watch wrestling to see how Ronda Rousey is going to do in the ring and being a part of the spectacle that is WrestleMania. I think that Ronda Rousey coming to WWE is going to be the biggest thing that could bring in those fringe wrestling fans to come back, even if it is for only one night, to see what they're missing. Ronda Rousey at this time right now is probably not going to be the best wrestler. She definitely is not the best talker when it comes to setting up promos, to setting up her matches. But I think that her drawing power from being able to beat people in UFC and have matches that lasted, less than a minute, and being able to knock somebody out in one punch, is what's going to bring it to the table. Definitely the armbar is something that we've been looking forward to seeing in a WWE ring since WrestleMania 31, when she jumped the barricade with The Rock. And was able to, hip toss on Triple H and throw Stephanie as well. This is a match that, came together over the last period of a year. Definitely for the last while, we've been wondering how Kurt Angle was going to come back to WWE. It looked like when Angle signed his deal to come back to WWE to be put into the WWE Hall of Fame, it was just going to be as sort of a... I guess you can say an out-of-the-ring performer, with him being the GM of Monday Night Raw, and having sort of like that feel-good guy that is able to deliver a promo, have good, be able to be believable in the role that, even though he's not still the guy that he once was, if stuff did get frisky in the ring, he would be able to handle himself. And I think that's what Triple H is. I apologize, that is what Kurt Angle is in the role of GM, especially being able to be somebody who's going to stand up to Triple H and Stephanie, and not just get walked over in a role like, Teddy Long did when he was in commissioner of SmackDown back in the day. Kurt Angle came back at TLC. He wrestled in that match replacing Roman Reigns, and it sort of was like a little bit of a Band-Aid sticker just to be there. He was a part of the Monday Night Raw team. At Survivor Series, being the captain of a team, he had to go out there and make sure that Team Raw was able to get the win. And even though him and Triple H didn't see eye to eye, it took until now for them to really pay off on that storyline of Survivor Series. In the opening match, or in the opening video of my full show preview, I talked about the fact that Survivor Series to me was probably the most I've been hyped for a wrestling show in quite a while. And to me, it sort of was a little bit of a letdown, and it led to my decision of basically not to go to WrestleMania this year. It seemed like it got really hyped up, and at the end, it was sort of a letdown with the Triple H show. Triple H is always going to be one of my favorite guys. I always look forward to his matches at WrestleMania. I can honestly tell you the match against Rollins last year wasn't the best match that I've ever seen, but, like the match against Daniel Bryan, the match against... at Sting, even though it wasn't the best wrestling match of all time, was really, really entertaining. And it's one of those matches that I know is going to be on every WrestleMania card. Even if it looks like he's not going to be getting the win, it's something that I really, really look forward to. It's easy to see, when talking about this match, Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey are going to get the win. This is going to be the kickoff of Ronda Rousey actually being a competitor in WWE. WWE is really talking about the fact that Ronda Rousey is going to be a part of the main roster. She's going to be a little bit different. For the most part, she wants to be treated like she is, Charlotte or Bayley or Sasha Banks. She's not going to be a part of every pay-per-view. And that's a little bit of trying to not make the spectacle that is Ronda Rousey, dry up. Brock Lesnar is the guy that, comes in for special pay-per-views. He's going to be part of WrestleMania. He's going to be a part of Survivor Series, SummerSlam. But, he's not on every Monday Night Raw to build up to that. So I'm not sure when Ronda's, storyline is going to end, and she's going to take a leave of absence, and she won't be... traveling to Monday Night Raw and doing TVs and things like that. But it is cool to see that Ronda is committed to WWE to the point where she's not going to take television off. And she is going to be a part of WWE to make sure that, they're able to draw numbers, especially in this very important time when WWE is maybe trying to lure in getting a new television deal with Fox. They still have to support numbers to see if maybe they're not able to go to Fox, if they can stay with USA, and how much USA is going to pay. And Ronda, as of right now, is probably the biggest star that they have, being bigger than John Cena, and definitely, I think, being more of a draw than Brock Lesnar is. Brock, did a house show last week where he wrestled in Chicago. The match was against Kane. It lasted less than a minute, and the fans were very easy to understand that they were upset that they didn't get their money's worth. That they felt Brock should have been out there longer, even though it was a match against Kane and everybody knew that he was going to win. Maybe he should have, suplexed him around a little bit more than he did. Maybe, sell a little bit, act like Kane was going to be beaten on him. But less than a minute doesn't really make much sense. And, that's always been my argument against why I think WWE is a better value when you're looking at pay-per-view dollars. Going against UFC, because although it is really cool to see, Ronda Rousey slap the armbar on somebody and make him tap out in, 15, 16 seconds, but then when you have to step back to the table, when that bill comes from the cable company, and you're like, man, I just paid $60 for 14 seconds of action, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So I know that they're going to drop a really good match where Ronda Rousey's able to get the best of Stephanie, and I'm sure that, Triple H will be putting a beating on Kurt Angle, making it look like they're going to be able to pull out the win, but definitely Stephanie's going to be doing some tapping, and we'll have the start of Ronda Rousey's career in WWE starting off with a big W. This is the big one. Even though I'm hoping that Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns is not going to be the main event of WWE's WrestleMania 34, it is the big one that they're hyping up as the big match because it is for the Universal Championship. We have not seen a face-to-face confrontation between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns yet on WWE's Monday Night Raw because of the fact that they're playing up this gimmick that Brock Lesnar is ducking Roman and has no-showed Monday Night Raw twice. Of course, this plays into the angle/storyline against maybe wrestling news that Brock Lesnar is leaving WWE and heading and signing an exclusive UFC contract after WrestleMania once his deal is done. I sort of thought that once that news came out, that might have been a story that was planted by WWE, and it's hard for me to think that Brock Lesnar would really have appeal to be a full-time UFC star. He's only really going to fight UFC at the most 2 fights a year. And we've seen from history's past at UFC 200 that when needed, I guess Brock has the leverage against Vince McMahon and WWE that he can still be under WWE contract and still fight for UFC. Obviously, I don't think that Vince is going to be wanting Brock to be fighting, I guess you can say, within 2 months of a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania because of the fact that he doesn't want to see Brock Lesnar get injured and one of his major stars of his company hurt on somebody else's watch. So that's something that I've always had in the back of my mind. Them playing up this storyline of Brock not appearing on Monday Night Raw, I'm not really sure if this is their way of trying to get the fans to cheer for Roman and boo Brock because of the fact that Brock is making people waste their money, making people waste their time, not thinking that it means anything to show up to Monday Night Raw, even though guys like Roman Reigns, Kofi Kingston, the people of the main roster. I don't know why I think of the common man on the WWE roster. I've always sort of thought about Kofi Kingston as the guy that deserves to be on WrestleMania and deserve to always have his spot. And, when there's always the WrestleMania snubs, Kofi was always one of the guys that I always noticed throughout the years and sort of felt bad that a lot of part-timer guys were filling in the roles that weren't around all the time. What they did on Monday Night Raw with Roman, sort of turning his attention away from Brock and going after Vince McMahon. I guess that, that is a way for them to really have Brock show up on Raw now that Roman Reigns is suspended. It's sort of like Brock is going to go on Raw, talk a lot of crap because of the fact that he knows that Roman's not going to come out there and confront him, and there will be no face-to-face confrontation, and Brock won't be faced to fight anyone before WrestleMania, knowing that if Roman's on the show, he's going to go out there and have a promo, probably be featured in some sort of a tag match, and he's only going to hurt his chances for WrestleMania coming up around the corner. This has to be one of the easiest matches to pick on the WrestleMania card. Definitely, I believe that Roman is going to be winning this. I made my first video for this match March 12th of last year. That Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar will be fighting for the Universal Championship in the main events of WrestleMania 34. You can draw back to WrestleMania 30 when they had the breakup of the Shield, really seeing that Roman Reigns was somebody that they wanted to push for Roman Reigns to go on and win the Royal Rumble that year, to go to WrestleMania, where I think the plans were for him to win the championship, and then they pulled that sort of switcheroo, maybe because of what happened at the Royal Rumble and the fans sort of backlashing against Roman. That's when they had Seth Rollins win the championship, and then of course Roman would go a year main event WrestleMania, yet once again beating Triple H, then go to WrestleMania 33 where he would main event and fight against The Undertaker, where people thought that he had sort of defeated Taker and not only, I guess you can't say he ended the streak, because the streak was only WrestleMania 31 and 32, where he got wins. It's two WrestleMania winning streaks, I guess you can say. But, I guess you can say ended the career of The Undertaker. But The Undertaker's come back. He's probably going to fight Cena, even though it's not announced yet. But Roman's the guy. I mean that's just the only way to put it. Roman's going to win this match. Brock might stay, Brock might go. If it was up to me, I'm hoping that Brock Lesnar leaves WWE because of the fact that his title reigns that he's had is build up until WrestleMania 31, and his build up from Brock won the championship at WrestleMania, so he's held that title for a year. And although this year he's had more title matches on pay-per-views, he's had matches against Joe and Strowman. He had the 5-way at SummerSlam. To me, it's just, it doesn't really seem like it means anything when the title's not around. And I understand they don't have a Money in the Bank guy on Monday Night Raw, so they don't have anybody walking around with a briefcase. But it just kills the excitement of what is the Universal Championship. When you know the guy's not going to be on a house show that they're going to, or he's not going to be on Monday Night Raw, where they can easily pop a rating or make you excited when you find out they're going to have a championship match. Even if it's not the predictable finish in your mind, there's still that chance in the back of your mind that something could go down tonight, and they might switch the title, which they've done before. So I'm hoping this isn't the main event. If I had to pick what I thought the main event was going to be this year, I really think it's going to be Cena versus Taker, even though it's not announced yet. Small thought in the back of my mind that maybe Rousey and Angle could be the main event against Triple H and Stephanie, but I sort of see that one not maybe in the middle, but maybe sort of in between the middle and the end of the show. I think it's definitely going to be one of the featured matches, but I mean, this is one that could go on, third or fourth into the show, and I think it could mean more to WrestleMania by not being in the main event spot. So we'll see if you guys can figure that one out. Looks like this is going to be a pretty good Mania. Excited for almost everything except for this match, and we'll see how that plays out at WrestleMania 34.